Good morning, everybody. Best day of the week. It's a Donut Friday on a Thursday. Joe Brazil's here. I'm Kyle Madsen. That's James Ham from the home studio. We are brought to you by Jiffy Lube. James, what were you saying? You were talking about Will Clark right before the show started. What were you saying about Will Clark?
I was watching a clip of Will Clark give like baseball instruction because he's sick of all these internet people who give like fake information or give bad advice. And it was like Will Clark had a few and was just spectacular, just going off profanity laced, how all of these idiots don't know what they're doing. And he's sitting there like quoting Tony Gwynn and showing like baseball hitters how to hit. It was fun.
Will Clark is one of those people who is still living in 1986.
Yeah.
It always seems like he just had a few. And
I think he's always had a few.
I don't think anything he does is I don't think anything he does is super instructive. Like, I've never listened to Will Clark talk. I understand he's a legend. He's amazing. But whenever I hear him, my takeaway is, oh, I didn't learn anything. Like, okay, this guy hates how the game is played now. Got it. Cool. 2 thumbs up. Like, thanks, man. But I do think there's something to that, because you'll see people online, and this is baseball, this is football, basketball. There are people who are just like, hey, I'm Coach so-and-so on YouTube. Here's how to do XYZ. And I'm sure there's a big market for that, because there's people who can't afford individual coaching, so they go on YouTube and they try and piece together individual coaching that way, because in youth sports, like, you have to do that now. If you're not getting some level of individual coaching, there's a ceiling on how far you are going to go. And it's expensive. So I get it. I don't hate on the idea. I hate on the fact that there are people who are legitimately out there doing a really, really great job with it. And then there are randos who are like, yeah, I played some high school baseball. I'm going to be a baseball coach influencer now. It's like, no, don't do that.
I think that's what this was aimed at. And, you know, I've been to like some of the big soccer camps with my oldest. Shout out Toby, who turns 22 today.
Oh, nice. Happy birthday, Toby.
Yeah, so I've actually been at a camp where a high-end college coach stops the camp and goes, "Hey, man, like, look, I know you've watched a lot of YouTube videos, but that's not soccer." And it's just like jarring. Like, hey, stop, just dribbling, playing around like you think that you know what you're doing, that you're better than everybody. Just make us all a 10-yard pass, please, and let's move on to the next drill.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, yeah.
That's how it goes.
It is.
All right. We've got some real Kings news for you. We have more NBA playoffs coming up, of course. First, though, I'm ashamed of myself this morning. We talked about getting donuts for Acrisure, the company that just went in next to us, where you have to be 6'5" or taller to work there.
That's right.
And it was my donut day today. And so when I stopped to get donuts, I had all the plans of going, okay, I would like 18 donuts, because that's how many we get for this office. And then I was going to say, and then I would like an additional 12 in a different box. And I over-explained things, so I was going to explain the whole thing. And I got so intimidated by the donut lady.
Kyle.
I did. She's somewhere between 40 and 70. And I've neher seen her like laugh. Like, I try and like joke and be like, and she's just not having it. And that's fine. Like, that's her. Like, that's not a problem. It's not an issue at all, but that's just her. And so, and I go to the same donut shop every day, and I love it there. They're great. And I go, and I'm in the midst of ordering my donuts, and she already feels like kind of rushed, and it's just me. And she already feels a little rushed, which makes me uncomfortable. And I'm like, all right, this is fine. Like, I'll get my donuts. Can I get 3 of those, 3 of those? And so my plan, I got all the math out. I get this many of this and this many of this. And I lost count at one point. And I go, is that 10? And she looks down and she goes, yeah, it's 10.
Oh, no.
Like, in that, not like, yeah, it's 10. Like a forceful, like, and so I'm going, okay, that's fine. Cool. Let's move forward. I want 2 of those and 2 of those. And she takes 2 of them out and she goes, "How many do you want?" And I go, "Just 2 of those." She goes, "No, donuts." And pointing at the whole box. I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "I'm so sorry. 18, please, if that's okay." And so she grabs the thing. She goes, "What else?"
Oh no.
And so by this time, I'm already shook. I'm getting yelled at by the donut lady because I'm trying to give her my money. And so I'm getting shouted at for trying to order donuts. And then like 3 people came in, and one of them was like a small child who just immediately runs up, and she just fired up for Donut Friday on a Thursday. And so then I didn't want to be like, because it was one person working, which might be why she was mad or more stoic than usual. And I didn't want to be like, actually, if you could stop, I need 12 more actually in a different box, if that's okay. I didn't want to do all that because now there's people behind me. She's already hates me. So the moral of that story is I got intimidated by the donut lady. I got punked. She was the alpha in that situation. And I will never go back to that donut shop again because I can't show my face there anymore.
Oh no. Oh, that's not good. So my donut shop, I walk in every other Thursday, and I go, "I need 2 dozen," and they go, "1 box or 2?" And I say, "1 box." And I said, "Just no coconut." And they ask me every time, "Is someone allergic to coconut?" And I said, "Nope, just no one eats them." So, "Oh, okay." And then they get and it's the same people every week.
That's
And
nice.
I'm there all the time. But they're pretty stoic as well. Like there's no humorous, like witty banter going back and forth.
1,000%. And that's again, I understand I'm annoying. Like I get that I can be a lot, especially if you've been at Donut Shop A since God knows what hour, because it's open 24 hours.
I think that's the problem. I think that they get there at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and by the time we get there, they're like, "Okay, I only got like 3 hours left. And I'm running out of donuts, and I don't want to deal with you."
Right. And it's probably like they're baking back there and they're there every day. And so when I come ambling through the door, like, "Hey, how's it going?" It's like, thumbs down. But it's never been this way before is the thing. I've had experience, and I understand she's pretty straightforward. Like, "How many do you want? Do you want them in 1 or 2 boxes?" "Oh, just 1 box." "What do you want?" And we go through. There's not like a lot of interaction. We don't usually chat.
Yeah.
It was just today I had all the vision of I'm going to get 18. I'm going to go, "Actually, can I get another dozen?" And then I was going to walk into Acrisure today and I was going to go, "Hello, I'm from Odyssey. I'm part of the donut committee, unofficial. And here are donuts. Welcome to the building." And I was going to make some riffs on the Donut Friday on a Thursday thing. And it was going to be a great time. Alas, and then when I walked by the Acrisure building today or their door, I walked down with like my head down and not looking in the door because I was like ashamed, even though they didn't know I was going to get them donuts. Like they're not missing out on anything. They didn't catch wind that we were doing a Donut Friday for them on a Thursday.
The level to Kyle's neuroses is just spectacular.
Bro, it's like anxiety. It just lives here in my head. Look, those people don't know I exist. If I died right now, if I just was wiped off the face of the earth, if I got Thanos snapped off, 0 people over there are affected. Nobody over there cares.
I don't know. You might be wrong, Kyle, because there are a lot of 6'5" to 6'8" small forwards / power forwards that could help the Sacramento Kings that might be fans of the Insiders. You never know.
Okay. If that's the case, then they knew we were going to bring them donuts.
Now it's even worse.
And now I'm actually ashamed. This is the first time ever I've been like, "God, I hope they don't listen to my radio program." This is the first time I've ever said that.
We have no idea what they do over there, but man, they get a lot of free mentions by us.
They do. Shout out to Acrisure. Home of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's Acrisure Stadium. So anyways, shout out to them and all their tallness, all their height. A lot of length and athleticism over at Acrisure. And I apologize if you do happen to listen to or watch this program. I apologize for not getting you donuts. I feel like here's how deep this anxiety goes. after the show, I'm considering going over there and alerting them to the fact that they were going to get donuts and then didn't because I wimped out.
That's not good.
Because I got dunked on by Donut Lady. Because I got dunked on by some lady who's either 40 or 70. I got punked.
It's a tough world. It's a tough world, Kyle.
It's brutal. Speaking of getting punked, I understand. I
Segue.
wasn't gonna. Thank you. I wasn't gonna talk about this. It's not on our rundown, and we got to talk about Mike Woodson. But I understand that coaches are gonna lobby in the press to officials. That's just a thing every single coach does on some level. Steve Kerr does it, has done it, will do it. Mike Brown did it, has done it, will do it. Doug Christie has done it, will do it. Every coach in basketball is going to do something to try and lobby officials privately and publicly. If I was Rudy Gobert, I would have paid Chris Finch to not go out publicly and let everybody know that I got punked by a bunch of guards. I would have been like, brother, shut that down. Send the clips. Again, it's not crazy that the Timberwolves sent clips to the NBA. Every team does that. Like, that is a thing that happens. I am not dragging the Timberwolves for that. I just would not want Chris Finch out there if I was Rudy Gobert. Like, dude, their guards were just getting after our center. I would not want them to know that. I would not. Just like send the clips. Like, yeah, this needs to be helped. This needs to be. They're running. They're illegally slamming into me under the basket, but don't tell anyone.
Yeah, it's like our
not helping Rudy Gobert.
Our 7'2" center is really, really getting beat up by a bunch of 6'1", 6'2" dudes. We
really
needed
tough.
to stop. We needed to stop.
Right, like you're Rudy Gobert. Yeah, when they run into you, move them and get the basketball. Like what? Yep. What are we doing? But anyways, that's just Rudy Gobert, I guess. I fully expect the Timberwolves to win tonight, but we'll talk about that coming up in a little bit because we got some Kings news. Mike Woodson is joining the staff.
Officially.
He is on the Kings coaching staff. It's a thing that's happening.
It's not official. Like there hasn't been a press release, but it's because he's not in Sacramento signing a contract. But it's confirmed. It's confirmed. Mike Woodson is joining the staff without any question. We've talked about this a couple of times. I don't know what his ties are to Doug Christie. That's something that we still have to figure out. I'd like to have a conversation with Doug and just like why Mike Woodson as your associate head coach, because that's a big position.
Yeah.
But he is a guy who has got a long history in the NBA. We've heard things didn't go great in Indiana, but to be honest with you, it wasn't that bad. He had an 82-53 record at Indiana over the last 4 seasons. They made 2 trips to the tourney. They didn't make it the last 2 years, but again, the records weren't horrible, just not great. As an NBA head coach, he's 315 and 365 over a long stretch. He's got a ton of years as an assistant coach at the NBA level. This is just like, there are coaches like this around the league that are no longer in the category of retreads. They're now in a category of really, really solid guy that can step in and help a newbie head coach kind of cut his teeth and help. I want to say organize and help like the process of, of being a head coach and what all that entails. And it's one thing to watch somebody above you, like sort of, manage their staff and their team and all that, which is what, Doug Christie has done with under Luke Walton, Alvin Gentry, and Mike Brown over the last, 4 years. But it's a lot different when you take that next step and you realize how much there is to sort of take care of. And I think it's a really good thing that Mike Brown asked Doug Christie to be the summer league head coach this last year. That meant a lot because he got a taste for it. And then, now he's got the full-time job. He's got 51 games under his belt. But now let's help somebody sort of like pull back and let you see the world from a different view and let you be the figurehead on top and then he'll help delegate. And I'm hoping that they build, like really, really good chemistry because that's what you need with this position here.
I also think there's value in having somebody who knows where they can help. if that makes sense. Like somebody who's been a head coach who knows like, okay, this is the best way I can assist the head coach. Because even like Steve Kerr has Terry Stotts on his staff. Doc Rivers had Dave Yeager on his staff.
Yeah.
Like you see this all around the league where there are former head coaches in these assistant coach positions, A, because they're just good basketball minds, but B, because, man, Mike Woodson might see something or do something or see Doug doing something and go, hey, here's a little bit easier way you can do that. Or Doug asked me to do this. I'm going to do it in this way because this is the way that can actually best help him. So I think this is a good start, good hire. As long as it's Doug's, as long as this is what Doug wanted to do.
Yeah.
Then it's 2 thumbs up for me. When you start getting into assistant coaches, I'm not going to pull my non-hair out over who's on the coaching staff and who's not.
Yeah, and I think again with Mike Woodson, this is going to be like somebody puts his arm around you and says, "Hey, let me help you get through this segment. Like what's happening right now. Let's come up with some new ideas, or what ideas do you have, and let's figure out how to implement them. And let's just, again, an organizer." And I think the fact that Mike Woodson has been a head coach, an assistant coach, gone back to being a head coach, gone back to being an assistant, those things help.
Yeah.
Because again, he has the point of view of all of these different, sort of structures and positions that you work in as in the NBA. And I think just a wealth of knowledge, and that's good. And a defensive mindset, that's what Mike Woodson's brand is. And the last thing is Mike Woodson was on the 1985-1986 Sacramento Kings when they moved here from Kansas City. And so he's got ties to Sacramento as well.
Great. Shout out to Mike Woodson on the coaching staff. Not officially official, but mostly official as it can be without being officially announced. All right. The Knicks or Celtics did it again. One of the two teams did a thing again, and I can't decide which one. We'll talk about a wild night in the NBA playoffs, another wild night in the NBA playoffs, and then NBA playoff storylines. Which one are you rooting for? It feels like every team has a pretty good storyline. I want to know which one you're pulling for. The 916-909-1320 is the Elk Grove Kia talk line. That's James Hammond, Kyle Madsen. We're the Insiders. Sponsored by Jiffy Lube. It's ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Center.
We do have a new pope this morning, Kyle.
Great. Shout out. No, see, this is the person at the donut shop did nothing wrong.
And you made that very clear.
This is a story about me. They do a great job at the donut shop I go to. This is not a her problem. This is a me problem. I was caught off guard by her, and because I am socially inept in those situations and can't go, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to keep going with what I was going to do. I go, ooh, okay, I want to not be in the way anymore, so I'm going to get my stuff and I'm going to leave. It's a me problem, not a her problem.
Yeah.
Shout out to that donut shop.
What was that?
I'm gonna save that.
Oh, yeah.
I was not. If I'm annoyed with me for not being able to just sack up and order 12 donuts.
Just thrown off kilter. That's all.
Yeah.
My neighbor 2 houses down is doing a ton of, they're having their entire lower floor, gutted and rebuilt. And it's been a process, but, I can see the workers installing a window right now, right down the hill. Should be interesting. Hopefully it's not noisy. Yeah, so we did have a pope. It is the first pope from the United States of America. I am not Catholic, but I have been to the Vatican, St. Peter's Basilica.
I have no pope take. Sorry, everybody.
It's okay. Kyron, we don't talk politics here.
Yeah, it's a no-go.
Scooter, I'm feeling a lot better today. a little just like raspy voice and a little stuffed up, but I'm feeling way better. I actually was on my way to the station today, to the Vibe.
Nope.
No.
Mm-mm.
To the Ridge. No.
Mm-mm.
And I called Kyle, or I text Kyle and told him, and then he's like, and I'm like, okay. I called Kyle. I'm like, yeah.
I have so much travel coming up. I don't want you sitting across from me right now.
Yeah. Disneyland gets you every time.
At the spot.
Oh, the spot. Oh, Kyron,
Isn't
maybe
it
you're
a-
onto something.
No, it's a play on, but it's really close to a flag.
Oh, okay. It's also, there is the mystery spot in Santa Cruz.
Is the new pope really from Chicago?
Yeah. Robert Prevost, I think. Provost? Robert Prevost. The first American pope in history.
And he's from Chicago. That means the new pope has definitely had Portillo's, and that makes me so happy.
Pope Leo the 14th.
15 seconds.
I wonder how they decide what their pope name is, like Pope John Paul or Pope Leo, or
You get to pick. That'd be kind of fire.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
So the new pope is actually from Chicago.
That's right.
That's incredible.
I like this. Adam L. calls him Pope Wrigley the First.
Sure. I'm not going to do that because I don't. That's a cultural blind spot for me, and I don't want to like. This is why I don't have a lot of takes on this. Okay. But it makes me happy that there's a really strong chance that the new pope is eating Portillo's.
There you go.
I love that.
He's definitely had what is it? Deep dish pizza. I mean, he's from Chicago.
Had to. Yeah. I love this. That's incredible. But like I said, I don't want to overstep and say something wrong here, so I'm just going to move on to the NBA playoffs now. The Knicks won again. They beat the Celtics 91-90. And Jesse Tapia, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. Turn the radio down. So it happened again where Boston built up a 20-point lead and smoked it. And somehow this one feels worse than the first one. Because the first one was like, all right, they missed a bunch of threes. They need to make an adjustment there. And they will. They still missed a bunch of threes, but they were up 20 with 3:12 to go in the third. Boston was. And there's a question at the end of this. The Knicks finished the third quarter on an 8-0 run to make it 73-61, but Boston pushed it to 16 with 8 minutes and 40 seconds left. It was 84-68. And at that point, you're thinking, okay, they've weathered the run. They got it back to 16. There's 8 minutes and 40 seconds left. This is the Boston freaking Celtics, the defending champions. There's no way they're going to blow this lead after doing it in game one. And then the Knicks finished the game on a 23-6 run. They won the game 91-90. Boston went from the 8 minute and 40 second mark of the fourth quarter until the 18 second mark of the fourth quarter without scoring a basket. All of their points came via free throws.
Kyle, go ahead.
I can't real quick. I can't decide, James, if this is about the Celtics face planting or if this is about the Knicks being way better than we thought the Knicks were.
Yeah, so here's my problem with the Boston Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
It's that they've created this monster of an offense that is predicated on making 3-point shots. And I just don't feel like they have another pitch. And I know they do, because I know they have players that can get to the basket. I know Jason Tatum can get to the basket. I know that Jaylen Brown can get to the basket. But the problem is when your offense itself is predicated on getting wide open looks from the perimeter and not on getting a guy free to go to the basket. And when you go cold from outside, I mean, they shoot 10 of 40 from 3. That's not going to cut it. And if you don't have another pitch in the NBA playoffs, you're going to get cooked. And unfortunately for the Celtics, I just don't think that any of us thought like this is something that the Knicks could do. But if the one thing you have to do is take away the 3-point shot, it just makes you super predictable. It makes you super easy to defend. And while it didn't work during the regular season to defend these guys because it takes, 1 or 2 shots going down and all of a sudden they're on a roll and they busted you up for 15 threes in a half or something. That's how this thing like gets out of control quickly. But look at the length and athleticism at the wings that this team has, that the Knicks have. They've got a bunch of tough-nosed guys that can defend multiple positions. Again, Josh Hart can defend 3 or 4 positions.
It's 6'3" or whatever he is.
Yeah, but I mean, you just go down their lineup and you look at Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges can defend 5 positions. OG Anunoby can defend 5 positions. So when they're switching and they're doing all this stuff, like that's usually where Boston, they get you in a switching defense and they start bombing away from 3. The second that you give them just a little bit of leeway, the Knicks aren't giving them that leeway. And if they don't have another way to score and to score consistently and not just rely on, hey, they're going to go down eventually, the shots, then you're going to get cooked. And I'm shocked to see that they're down 0-2 because I think they are a really, really good team. I think that they are the best team probably in basketball, and maybe certainly the best team in the Eastern Conference. But that's not what it looks like right now. And it's just a tough look when you get all the way to this deep in the season and someone figures out, what your curveball looks like, and they keep putting it in the cheap seats because that's what's happening.
It feels that way. And to me, as badly as and Boston is, let's see, they were 15 of 60 and 10 of 40. So what is that? 25 for 100 from 3 to start the series?
That's 25%, Kyle. Quick math.
Not great. But like their 3-point attempt rate, and this is the thing that's jarring, and this is why I think it's more about actually the Knicks than the Celtics. They shot 43s last night. The Celtics did. It's a lot, but not an insane number. And their 3-point attempt rate, like their number of 3-point shots per field goal attempt. Does that make sense? Their percentage of their field goal attempts that were from 3 was 42.6%. That would have been like 12th in the league this year, 13th in the league this year. So it's not like they made a pretty sizable adjustment from game 1. They just can't score. Even when they get inside, you've got Jaylen Brown getting matched up on Jalen Brunson, which is something that, I mean, we talked about this. That's something that Jaylen Brown did against Keon Ellis, as he took Keon Ellis down in the block. He takes it and he goes and scores. They just don't, for whatever reason, they're just not doing that.
Yeah.
And I don't get it, dude. This is more about the Knicks for me because I did not think the Knicks could play this level of defense. Forget that Boston is missing shots. They can't even get to the paint. They tried to get to the rack last night. They took way more 2s last night.
Yeah.
And it still didn't work. And this is a Knicks team that for a lot of the year was super mid to bad defensively. And come playoff time, Jason Tatum turning into a pumpkin, not great.
No.
Jaylen Brown was finals MVP last year, doesn't look great. And now all of a sudden you start looking around, it's like, man, and maybe they just start hitting shots and it's overwhelming and the Knicks just have nothing and the Celtics win this series in 6 or 7 games. That's on the table for sure. Like I'm not saying the Celtics are done, but through the first 2 games, I've been so impressed with the way the Knicks have just taken a haymaker on the chin, gotten back up and kept fighting. Like they're just, I know it's a super overused phrase, but they're just some dogs. And it doesn't feel like Boston is ready to play in the mud like that.
No, I guess it's part of it is that they've gone a couple of years without really having to. And then all of a sudden, like this thing just is gotten ugly.
Yeah.
So
All right, so the Celtics and Cavs, the two teams that most people thought were just on a collision course to the Eastern Conference Finals, are now both down 0-2 after starting their series at home. Which team is more likely to come out of their 0-2 hole? Is it the Cavs or the Celtics?
Oh, man.
Can I give you the case for the Celtics?
Yeah.
Here's their path. They start hitting threes, which I think they will.
Mm-hmm.
And the other issue with the Cavs is that they're super beat up. And Boston is still relatively safe for Kristaps Porzingis being sick or whatever he's got going on. Boston's relatively intact. Where if they do have a couple of games where their threes go down, I think they're going to be fine. Like they could go into Madison Square Garden, tie this thing up, and everything looks a lot different for Game 5.
Yeah.
Whereas Cleveland is like, man, it felt like they really threw their best punch in Game 2 and just didn't have enough answers.
Well, I mean, I think the Cavs are going to be okay if they can get Mobley and Garland back. But I don't know what the prognosis is on either one of those guys. Like, man, this is playoffs. Like, are you injured or are you hurt? And I don't know the answer to that. Clearly, they think they can't play, but I know we're seeing a lot of national guys come out and just say, "Hey, man, get on the court." Like everybody's beat up. This is game 89 or 90 in your season. You need to get out there and actually hoop.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the tough thing, man. The playoffs can be decided very easily by a couple of injuries. And I think that's why a 7-game series is always best. And I know a lot of people don't like early 7-game series and all that, but look, this is what's best because the Cavs are a really, really, really good team and probably the better team in that series. But when they're not healthy, they can't keep up, and I think when you're looking at very specifically the players that are missing, if you look at the fact that, like Tyrese Halliburton is not having to play stellar defense on Darius Garland to slow him down. And he's being able to expend all of his effort on the offensive end. The fact that you don't have your main focal point defender, like an all NBA defender, a guy who he did win the defensive player of the year.
Evan Mobley, yeah.
Yeah. When you don't have him to defend Pascal Siakam, I mean, that's the reason why, Kyle, you keep taking Siakam on underdog. Like when you don't have that guy to defend Siakam, he's a really good player. He's the second best player on that team. And if he's going to go out there and kind of move around freely because your best defensive player is gone, that's a problem. And so I hope that they get healthy and that we get to actually see, what they look like. And again, they've fallen down 0-2 at home, which is a problem. Both these teams are 0-2 at home. So now what they have to make up here is really, really tough. It's not just like trying to win 4 out of the next 5. It's trying to win 4 out of the next 5 with 3 of those on the road, and that's tough.
I really need Boston to get back into this series, just selfishly, because I want like an iconic Boston Knicks series.
Oh yeah,
I know. It would really suck if the Knicks just took care of him in 5 games. Oh, well, like that's a thing that happened. Here's my. I don't usually like going down this road when talking about teams and players, but I'm going to in this case. This is a really, really crucial series for Jason Tatum because you can't go from not winning Finals MVP last year, conference finals, and then Finals MVP last year to getting DNPs in the Olympics and having everybody who supports Jason Tatum, even a small amount, like this is ridiculous. He's going to take over the league. He's the actual face of the league. Just nobody knows it. Jason Tatum is the best player that nobody talks about, blah, 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 blah. You can't have that all year. And then this season, he was incredible. I think he led their team in everything. Like points, rebounds. He was ridiculous. He was awesome. You can't then get to the biggest stage again and crumble like this. That's just like we talked about this with Tyrese Halliburton yesterday, right? Like that superstar ascension comes when you do things like hit game-winning threes on the road in the playoffs and hit a game-winning layup over Giannis to knock out the Bucks. Like those are the things that kind of make a player. And this is not to Jason Tatum could retire today and he'd be a Hall of Famer. He's unbelievable. But if you're trying to shirk the perception of you as a player, you have to go win this series. You cannot be as rough as he's been the first couple of games.
Well, I agree with that, but I also like just watching the final play of the game where he couldn't get a shot off. Like, look, the Knicks specifically built their team to face the Boston Celtics. Like, that's it. They went out and got the best 2 wing defenders outside of Kawhi Leonard when he's healthy in the NBA. Like, their wing defenders are absolutely incredible, and they're switchable, and they can play, you can have them both on the court at the same time. They can just move around and bounce from one guy to the next. Like, those defenders are unbelievable. And, if one night Jason Tatum's going crazy against OG Anunoby, you switch it up and give him Mikal Bridges. And that's where, again, you can take away somebody's best pitch. Yeah. And I think that's what we're seeing right now so far is that New York is specifically designed to beat this team. Now, what does that mean in the next round and the round after that? I don't know. Because, like what we're watching from the other series, the OKC series, is, game 1, you had no one to defend Jokic. Game 2, okay, you figured it out, right? And that's where the Celtics are. They're in that figure it out phase where they just have to move quicker. They've got to share the ball quicker. They've got to move off the ball. They've got to get set better screens, get guys more open, and let Tatum start to get a little bit of a rhythm. If he can do that, they've got a shot.
No doubt. I don't want to play in the fraud pool because the Celtics are awesome, and their championship last year was extremely well earned. So I don't want to jump into the deep end of the fraud pool here, and start throwing that word around. But I would think of Boston differently if they don't have an adjustment for what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like the reason I think so highly of Boston is because they should have an answer for that. Okay, a team is able to throw all these different looks at Jason Tatum. Okay, that's fine. You should be able to make up for that. Like this is the best roster in the league. Like you should be okay. Joe Mazzulla, really good young coach, a little bit of a lunatic, but really good coach, should be able to solve this. And so if they don't, like that's where, like I said, I'm not thinking of their last season championship any differently. I'm just thinking of like this iteration of the Boston Celtics. Like, oh, maybe they're just not who we thought they were.
Yeah,
and they're not this dynastic group that is just going to take over the league for half a decade. That's where this falls for me. But like we just said, maybe they wind up winning the next 4 games because I think they very much have that in their bag. They're that good. But right now the Knicks have figured it out the first couple of nights, and they lead that series 2-0. We'll talk a little bit about the Oklahoma City game. They had an in case you forgot performance from Oklahoma City. And what else do we got? And then Golden State tonight. Only one game tonight. I thought there was a second game tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about the NBA playoffs coming up. And we got the storylines that we're pulling for. What's your best NBA storyline in the postseason? What are you rooting for? We'll talk about that as well. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil is on the ones and twos. We're the Insiders, sponsored by Jiffy Lube. This is ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Center. Ew.
Yeah, Wheezy, this right here, the crazy thing is one of Mikal or OG would have been perfect in HB spot for the Beam team, and the Knicks have both guys. That's the problem. It's like this is a perfect example of why like best player versus fit. Like the fit of Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. Like, look, there are better small forward, power forwards in the league than OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. There are. There's probably 10 that are better. You can just go down the list of great wings in the NBA. The difference is that these guys fit seamlessly. And that's why, we haven't been calling for, go get, superstar to go play the small forward position instead of Harrison Barnes or DeMar DeRozan. It's go get the right piece. The Kings would have looked a lot different if the Cam Johnson deal would have went through on draft night. Just a ton. Would they still be playing? I don't know, but I can tell you that piece in itself probably could have avoided like the disaster that has become what the 2024-25 Sacramento Kings were, where coaches get fired and best players get traded and everything else. One thing, and that's where you always have to go back and say, okay, what was the deal on the table? Because I kept hearing like the Nets want 2 first-round picks. Look at how many first-round picks they gave up for Mikal Bridges. Like sometimes it's the cost of doing business. Like you want to be great, you can't shy away in the moment. You've got to make the deal that makes your team better, and with the potential to give you an opportunity to just be, like much better than you ended up being. So,
the Monty McNair front office spent so much time maintaining flexibility for a move that they could never pull a trigger on.
I totally agree. They also just always held on to the assets like they're just gold. And, sometimes like I'll just like, okay, so if you're going to trade an unprotected pick, that's really hard to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really hard to do if you're going to win 55 games. Because then an unprotected pick is number 25.
That's why it was so frustrating. And that's why I was so on board with like F those picks. Because you're going to be good. But you capped your ceiling because you wanted to hang on to these picks, or you wouldn't put these protections on them. For what? Like you got fired.
Kyle, they like GM'd this thing like they had another 2 or 3 years.
That's it. They did that for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, they did. They just kept playing it like they were never going to get fired. And that's unfortunate because I do think that they were smart guys, and I do think like the Sabonis deal and like they got the team on the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
But man, you've got to take a swing for the fences, because what's the alternative?
That's it.
Like, and we can like hindsight is 2020, but those dudes weren't good at drafting. Just like Davion Mitchell for this team, when you already had Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox on the roster, that's a bad draft pick.
Very odd.
Straight up. And that's not a shot at Davion Mitchell. It's a bad draft pick for your team.
Mm-hmm.
The Devin Carter draft pick was a bad draft pick for your team. Like you drafted a 22-year-old dude who was going to miss 6 to 8 months. Like there were other players that could have helped your roster, straight up.
If you had 2 playable wings instead of those 2 guys, you'd be in such a different spot.
Yep. Weezy, Keegan was not on the table, I don't believe. Monk is who Toronto asked for. Where that deal fell apart, from what I know, is that the Kings understood what Siakam wanted in a contract, and they weren't going to give it to him. And so Siakam said, well, then I don't want to go get traded there.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
I have a question. It's 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. It's the Oak Grove Kia Talk Line. We'll get to Mitch here in a second. The Thunder very much did an in case you forgot performance last night.
Yeah.
They trick off game 1, a game they had no business losing. Denver pulls it out, and everybody goes, pause, and everybody goes, oh my God, the Nuggets are going to beat the Thunder. They look at Jokic, and then the Nuggets come out and win 149-106. They won a playoff game by 43 points. They scored damn near 150 points.
It wasn't that close.
The type of win And the reason I call this an in case you forgot win is because after game 1, I too fell into the trap of like, oh man, Denver might. The fact that the Thunder immediately turned around, had answers for Nikola Jokic, and after he was phenomenal in game 1, and boat raced Denver like this. I try not to be overreactionary in series. I always am, but I try hard not to be. That was the kind of win that made me go, oh, Oklahoma City is going to win this series pretty easily. It was like they figured out the one thing that they needed to figure out, and that might just be it.
Yeah, I think Denver might get one more game in that series, but
Sure.
I think that'll be 6. I think that'll be it'll be OKC in 6. And like, look, I still think that it is the Western Conference Finals, but it's because I think that highly of OKC, and I know a lot of people don't. I just do. I mean, like their ability to, again, like what we're talking about with the Knicks, the Thunder have the ability to defend anybody. You know, did they have to make an adjustment on Jokic? Yeah, sure. And is there another game where Jokic could go for 40? Of course. But they have so many different pitches that they can throw at you as far as defensively. And they can keep mixing it up because they just, unlike the Knicks, OKC has 12 players. They're 12 deep. They can just keep throwing different looks and messing with you in totally different ways. And if one guy goes cold or one guy's not playing up to his level, then you go to a different player, where I don't think the Knicks have that. I mean, again, Deuce McBride came in and played really well for them yesterday. And even though he barely scored, his defensive rating was absolutely crazy.
Yep.
But like, again, if you can drag that Knicks series out to 7 games, man, the Knicks could be in trouble because those dudes are playing 50 minutes a night, 45 minutes a night.
Yeah.
And eventually they're going to get tired playing every other night, even though they are a bunch of dudes in their mid to late 20s. They're going to get tired as well. And that's where I think OKC just has an advantage over everybody. Like, they can mix up looks. If Shea gets going, you're toast, because then their secondary guys just become so much more effective.
Yeah, Shea, 34 points last night, 11 of 13 from the field, hit all 11 of his free throws. Lou Dort didn't even shoot it well. He was 4 for 13. Didn't matter. They shot 56.2% from the field as a team. Here's the thing that's crazy about Oklahoma City, and it goes to, at the break we were talking about the Kings and some of the mistakes and the missteps of the Monty McNair era that kind of put the Kings where they're at right now. But you just mentioned the depth on OKC, right? They had 8 guys scoring double figures last night, but it gets a little wonky because, starters were being pulled. They didn't have anybody play more than 30 minutes, and that was SGA. You have Isaiah Joe, 17 minutes off the bench, 14 points, 4 of 4 from 3, second-round pick. Aaron Wiggins, 15 minutes off the bench, 4 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from beyond the arc. He scored 10 points, second-round pick. AJ Mitchell played 13 minutes, 4 of 7 from the field, 2 for 2 from beyond the arc. He scored 10 points. It's a second-round pick. Jalen Williams, the big J-Dub, J Will, is that J Will or J Dub? I always get them confused. That's J Will. The power forward is J Will. J Dub. What, I don't know. I think it's J Will. 12 minutes. Only scored 3 points, but did a really nice job against Nikola Jokic. He's a second round pick. And then Kenrich Williams played 12 points. He was undrafted. And then you've got Cason Wallace. Cason Wallace is actually a former top 10 pick in the 2023 draft. But beyond that, it's a bunch of second-round picks and an undrafted guy who could credibly be part of a 7 or 8 man rotation in OKC. And that level of player development is like, and they're all 6'5" or 6'6", and they all shoot the lights out. Like,
it shouldn't be that hard, man.
Why don't teams just do this? Why don't I know it's silly, but it's like, why don't other teams just find these guys? Why do the Kings find none of them? I can't get one. Keon Ellis counts. The Kings got one. That's it.
But that's the problem. Everybody loves Keon Ellis here in Sacramento. OKC has 5 of them.
It's ridiculous.
They have 5 Keon Ellises. And you're just like, what in the world? That's the problem. Like, if like when we're doing the postmortem now because Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox are done, they didn't leave the cupboard bare because you have all your picks moving forward after this year's draft. But the fact that you don't have just like this pipeline built, that OKC has, that you don't have a bunch of guys that are waiting in the wings to be really good rotational players. That's a huge problem.
I know that you couldn't have these specific players, but just imagine that I'm going to use these players as avatars for this type of player. I'm going to use can you imagine a Kings lineup of De'Aaron Fox and Keegan Murray and Domantas Sabonis, and we'll even keep Harrison Barnes here. Why not? And somebody else, a fifth guy, with Malik Monk, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, AJ Mitchell, Jalen Williams, and Kenrich Williams.
Yeah.
Like, that's a team that's winning 50-plus games every year and making playoff runs every year.
Well, it is, but you have to have the offensive and defensive system in order to support that. And changing coaches every 2 years, that doesn't help.
But I don't think you're changing coaches if your team is that good.
No,
like that's kind of what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, there are more problems, but when we just talk about just the roster building,
yeah,
it's like, man, they had the starters and they just didn't supplement it the right way. And I know we talk about this all the time, but OKC is just such a glaring example of, you don't even need first round picks. You don't need high picks.
Yeah.
You want the second round dudes and a couple undrafted guys. It's crazy.
Well, I would say this too, Kyle, wait till next season with this Knicks team, because the Knicks have built out this high end. It's super top heavy, right? Super top heavy. And it's going to be difficult for them to keep all these guys long term, but short term, next season, this summer, there are going to be like 3 or 4 veterans that go, you know what, I'm going to go play for the Knicks because I think we can win a chip.
Yeah.
And then their bench that's horrible this year will not look horrible next year, because they will have been able to supplement that bench with really, really high-end support pieces. And it should not have been this difficult for the Sacramento Kings. That's what we keep beating the same, dead horse. It's like,
but it's impossible not to think about when you watch the playoffs. It's just everything that you and me and D'Lo and KC and Joe Brazil and Jesse Tapia and everybody in the chatty house and any Kings fan you talk to, everything we talked about for the last 3 years is just, oh, hey, there's an example of that in the playoffs. Oh, hey, look at that playoff team being awesome. And there's more. I know people are probably tired of it, but it's so difficult watching the postseason and watching what wins in the postseason and looking back at the final 3 years of the Monty McNair era and going, oh my God, they did none of those things. They did nothing to try and build out that type of team.
I think the worst thing is that you're talking about playoffs and how much it shows up in the playoffs. It was that way on paper before the season started. And it was that way on paper before the last season started. And it was that way in functionality at the trade deadline last year, at the trade deadline the year before. You could see the functional flaw to the roster at all times. And the fact that you did not address like the easiest thing to address in the league, where every team has 4 or 5 of these guys and you don't, it's on them, man. You're unemployed because of that. You no longer are in an NBA front office because of that, because you couldn't address something that so many other teams have found basic. Even like, look at what Dallas did in the offseason. The Kings could have gone out and got Najee Marshall. They could have. Maybe not. Maybe he doesn't want to be in Sacramento. But still, it's even that type of player. We're not even talking about a near all-star level player. We're talking about a basic rotational player in the NBA, and you could not go out and get those players. That's, to me, it's the biggest failure of this franchise, is just having a winning roster and not doing anything to supplement the roster where you knew where the holes were. Like, this was not brain surgery. This was easy peasy, sitting right in front of you. Just go address it.
But maintaining flexibility or whatever. Brutal.
Yeah.
So brutal. Let's get to Mitch on the Elk Grove Kia talk line before we get out of here. Mitch, thank you so much for holding. We appreciate you. It's Mitch in New Jersey. What's up, buddy? Mitch?
Hello?
Hi, Mitch.
Okay, I thought it was my phone. What else is new?
You sound, Mitch, can I tell you something before you go in on what you want to talk about? You sound great today. This is the clearest you've ever sounded on the phone.
And I thought I'd get a new phone, but they don't do it anymore. That you're up due for an upgrade, but it's not free anymore. It's not free anymore. I just got the news. I'm a year too late. Anyway, somebody's got to give Michael Porter some salt, wake up salt, because I know what's going on with him. But I think you got to say if the Celtics lose, it'd be a bigger upset than if Cleveland loses, because I mean they have some lineup, some roster Boston has, but I'm loving what the Knicks are doing. All those guys in the starting lineup they were free agents or trade up for. Why can't the Kings do that? And one more thing, I'm glad to see Kings players doing well in the playoffs. I mean, the ex-Kings players. I'm sorry I'm being a little sarcastic, but I can't believe how good Halliburton is. Tyrese Halliburton. He does have a funny shot, doesn't he? He has to go forward to step back.
Yeah.
He's got a very, like a Rick Barry free throw shot. Excuse me. Anyway,
Mitch, you said Michael Porter Jr. needed wake-up salts. Did you mean bath salts?
Oh. No, the smelling salt.
Smelling salt. Oh, smelling salts. Right. Got you. Okay. Hey, Mitch, you're the man. Appreciate you calling. Talk to you soon. Goodbye, Mitch. Love that guy. Michael Porter Jr., apparently his shoulder is so hurt that he can't put his own jersey on.
Oh.
Like
that's not good.
Lift his arms to put a jersey on, so he has to get help. That's apparently the problem with him. And when he is your one of two guys you trust to shoot a three-pointer on that team, that's tough. I guess three guys.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. Just another reason that Denver's in a tough spot against a very good Oklahoma City team. Speaking of being in a tough spot, that's me with Underdog. Underdog, of course, the best place to make your picks during playoff basketball. While they this is great. I'm just going to do the read. While they score buckets, you could score cash on Underdog. That's incredible. Whoever writes these does a really great job. I am not doing a great job with their pick'em game. It's super easy. You just pick higher or lower on at least two player stats. You can turn $1 into $1,000. I have not been turning my money into any money because I keep on losing. And it's because I just keep misreading how I think the games are going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like last night, I went Jason Tatum higher than 5.5 assists. And my thought was, okay, he's their main distributor. They're going to make more shots. Nope, they shot 36.2%. Boston did. And Jason Tatum finished with 5 assists. So that's a loser. OG Anunoby, higher than 16.5 points. He scored 5. Just did not look to score last night. And maybe that's because of the defensive onus. I'm not really sure. Jaylen Brown did hit a couple of threes. I had higher than 1.5 made threes. He did hit 2. But still, I lost 2 out of 3 in my lineup. And that is a big loser for me. Can't remember the last time I won. But I'm going to be back on the horse tonight. I haven't gotten to look. I think what happens sometimes, James, is I haphazardly kind of throw a lineup together before the show.
Yep.
And when I really sit down and get time to think about it and think about my takes and how I want to do a lineup and really dig into some of the numbers because they have so many stat projections to choose from, that's where I think I start putting together winners. So I'm gonna think about it. If you want to know what my lineup is, just hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, Kyle A. Madsen, Madson, and I'll do my best to help you out. All right, so download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code KyleM, that's KYLEM, to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code KyleM, KYLEM. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. More NBA playoff talk coming up here on The Insiders. Sponsored by Jiffy Lube. It's ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader.
What's going on, everybody?
I tried the grape mango fruit leather buttons today. I think I like them more than the other ones. I think the other ones are strawberry mango. Let's look at tonight's lineup. Ant's definitely having a bounce back game, right?
I would say yes. But what's the number?
27.5. I think he's going for 30 tonight.
Okay.
I can't adjust the number. The lowest number I can adjust it to is 32.5.
Restaurant Dog, are we concerned with blown leads by the A's? A little bit, but I got to be honest. They keep running one kid out there that has no business pitching in Major League Baseball right now, but he's a Rule 5, and he either looks incredible or he's horrible, and his ERA is off the charts bad. And so, not to call out one specific dude, because I do know that Mason Miller and Tyler, my darn blank, Tyler Ferguson blew saves in the last week, but you can't keep running Noah Murdoch out there who has a 13.24 ERA. That's just I don't understand.
15 seconds.
Yeah.
Hour number 2, that's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen, Joe Brazil on the 1s and 2s. We're hanging out with you till noon. Then we will hand it off to D-Lo and KC, and they will take you up to 4 o'clock right here on, good fade, right here on ESPN 1320 Sacramento Sports Leader. Hey, before we get back into the NBA playoffs, I have a question for you guys. This includes you too, Joe. So, and I know you have takes on this. My wife and I are going to see a comedian in San Francisco tomorrow. Comedian named Fern Brady. She's very funny. And the place where the show is, she has a special on Netflix, but she's not a really well-known comedian yet. So she's playing at a smaller venue in San Francisco. And we don't usually go over to that part of the city specifically. So our go-to restaurants aren't there. So last night we were kind of looking around and trying to find a place to eat in the city that's close to this place. Just because of the timing, I can't go all over heck going to a restaurant. So trying to find a restaurant near this place. Google reviews. No, excuse me. Open Table.
Mm-hmm.
Open Table.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that.
Open Table reviews, 700 reviews. This place is 4.8 stars. But then we went to Yelp. Similar number of reviews. It's 4.1 stars.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to Google and it was some other number. I forget exactly what.
Probably higher on Google than it was on Yelp.
What do you trust the most, though?
Well, I trust Yelp.
Yeah,
the most. I'll jump
Joe.
right
I know you've got takes on this.
Yeah.
So you go to Yelp first. Why?
Well, okay, so it kind of depends. If I'm in real foodie mode, I'm I'm going to Yelp. I'm gonna you can sort it by relevancy or whatever, and I like Yelp because it's definitely more. They're harsher on their reviews, so you'll see lower scores on Yelp than you would on Google.
Okay.
Denny's has 4 stars on Google.
That's way too low.
It's
Mighty
not
fine
4
breakfast
stars on Yelp, so you can kind of get a vibe. But I relate to the Google reviewers more, so it kind of depends. But if I'm looking for a really good spot, foodie mode all the way, it's Yelp, no doubt. Yeah.
Okay. Very good, James.
Okay, so I don't love going to any I don't look at a ton of reviews, but I do kind of look at what you're looking at, Open Table versus Yelp. As Metacritic versus Rotten Tomatoes. The Rotten Tomatoes score for most movies is just astronomical.
All right, who out 11:04?
Frozen
11:04 a.m. is our first frozen ham
There it is.
of the day. Here we go. Actually, our first frozen ham of the week.
It's been a while. I don't think I've been around for a frozen ham yet.
Yeah, we'll get. Oh wait, is he back? There he is.
There he is.
Hey, hi James. You froze.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I kind of look at it the reviews on Metacritic to me are always more honest because they're harsher. and versus Rotten Tomatoes, which I think it factors in like user score more than Metacritic does.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I've always found it to be more accurate, and like it depends on what kind of movie you're going to go watch, and like you have to have your expectations set for whatever. I look at it the same way when it comes to food. Like Open Table might be a little easier on folks, but I also think Yelp is a little more difficult. You get one bad review and it can tank your score pretty hard.
Yeah.
So I got to be honest, like I prefer, I'm like a creature of habit person. So when I find somewhere that I like, I just keep going back there. And
right, but that's not an option for us here.
No, I totally get you. I totally get you. So, and a lot of times we shout out to our friends that we travel with all the time, Kevin and Kristen. They do a lot of the work to figure out which place we're going to, and a lot of times it ends up we're at like spectacular restaurants, but they also aren't inexpensive restaurants, and so we end up going to a lot of very, very nice places that at a minimum, you're looking at 4 stars on anywhere that you're going to go, but probably more than that, and probably like going to put a giant dent in your bank account.
I think if I trust if I'm actively seeking like a review, I'll go to Yelp, because I think if you're going to the Yelp app to do a review, it probably means you do this quite often. When I leave a Google review, it's either because somebody asked me to, or I'm just like mad and I'm going to just go to Google real quick. Not that I do that all the time, but I think what I look for the most though is just to make sure it's not like 2 stars.
Yeah, and the number of reviews. That's pretty big too.
No doubt. Because if it's like 30 reviews, I'll just go.
Yeah.
I'll be one of the ones. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The other thing I look for too is I'll skim real quick the reviews on any site, and because we always check at Google and Yelp, especially if we're in an area we don't know too well. As I'll go to the 1-star reviews. If the 1 star starts with the service, wipe it out. Couldn't care less.
Yeah.
I don't care about the service at all.
That's an individual experience.
It genuinely could. It's like, is the food dope? Great.
Exactly.
They'll get to me.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my go-to philosophy is I search the 1-star reviews. And if it's like the food stunk or was this or there was a rat on my table or whatever it is,
I'm going there. They're like, their kids were doing homework I'm like, yeah, I'm absolutely there.
Yeah.
You know what I like to do sometime too is if you are going to go look at some of the reviews, I like to click on the person who's reviewing and giving a negative review and see if that's just their shtick, because that happens a lot.
Oh, good idea.
Yep,
where people are just total punks. And they just go around, they do this all the time, and they think that, oh, I'm going to be a foodie critic. And they go out there and make these outlandish claims everywhere they go. And you look at all of their reviews and they're like 2-3 stars. You're like, okay, that's not an honest assessment. Let me go find a more, let me read a couple more of these types of people. And a lot of times people, they only review if they had a great experience or if they had a really bad experience.
Yeah. A lot of 5s and 1s.
Yeah, so I'm guilty of that. I'm not really handing out 3 stars very often.
No doubt. It's just not that serious. So that's how we're going to choose our restaurant. Find what sounds good, and we're just going to go, unless it has like 3 stars on one of those. But if it's between 4 and 5, 3.8.
If it's
3.8 is fine usually.
3.8 with like 5,000 reviews, you should check it out.
Yeah, no doubt.
I like San Francisco. I like the little alleyways where they have like 2 or 3 restaurants set up in the alleyway.
Yes.
Like they have a couple of those spots. I like those.
Yeah, and those always usually have like low ratings, because that's the kind of spot you're probably not going to get great service.
Exactly.
There's probably 2 people working there. It's going to be crowded. Just go in there and vibe.
That's the point. Exactly.
Can't wait. It's going to be a great time. What's not a great time right now is the A's bullpen. They fell to the Mariners yesterday afternoon. So after getting to within 1 game of the Seattle Mariners, for first place in the AL West, the A's dropped their next 2, and they are now 3 games back of the Mariners, but still 2 games above 500. Just a disappointing end of that series after a really exciting 11th inning walk-off win to start it. Ugh. Gross.
Jacob Wilson is awesome, though.
Did we lose James again? I guess we lost James.
I was like, it's really quiet.
That was James' thing. So I was trying to tee him up.
I know.
That's fine. All right.
I figured. I was like, wow. I guess I'll say it. He is awesome.
Reported this morning by, or I guess not reported, but this morning, Matt Mayoko from NBC Sports Bay Area. We'll get back to the NBA playoffs here in a bit, but NBC Sports Bay Area's Matt Mayoko said that 49ers free agent wide receiver DeMarcus Cousins, nope, not DeMarcus Cousins, DeMarcus Robinson is facing a 3-game suspension. The NFL is determining whether they're going to suspend him for violating their substance abuse policy. He was arrested for a DUI last November. He did not receive any punishment from the Rams or the league last season. So if he is suspended, and the 49ers knew this going in, this was a thing when they signed him, they may be without DeMarcus Robinson for 3 games. So that's an update on that. We'll let you know whenever that becomes official. We got James back?
I'm back.
There he is. What's up, James? Okay, very good. I was teeing you up to talk about the A's, who fell to 20-18. They dropped the final 2 games of their series against the Mariners. They have an off day today, but a little bit disappointing end to a series after a really, really fun start with the extra inning win on Monday.
Yeah, they got to figure out some of their bullpen problems. And to be honest with you, it's, again, Logan Murdoch is had, not Logan Murdoch, Noah Murdoch.
Yeah, shout out to Logan Murdoch.
Yeah, shout out to our guy. Yeah, he's just a hot mess, man. And he's a Rule 5 guy, so they don't want to give him back. But he's given up 26 hits and 25 runs in 17 innings. He's walked 20. I mean, that's just one guy who's walked 20 in 17 innings. Like his whip is like a 2.7.
And that's walks and hits per innings pitched.
Yeah, like you can't keep putting that guy out there at all. And that's tough. But sometimes you've got to do things that don't feel good. And whether that's, again, you can't send him down to the minors because he's a Rule 5. You have to give him back. And that's a problem. So I'm definitely looking for them to start relying on some of the guys who they got a bunch of guys who haven't given up runs at all. And I'm going to start looking at those guys a lot more and start solidifying the bullpen. And then if you got to go out and get somebody, go out and get somebody, but just don't keep putting somebody out there who has no business being at the major league level at all right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, struggling pretty bad. You know who's not struggling? Jacob Wilson. He went 4 for 5 with a couple of doubles. He's now hitting .357 this season. He's actually going to join us tomorrow on this radio program.
Yeah, he's also going to, probably win the Rookie of the Year. This dude is just awesome. Yeah.
The bat to ball skills are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just a lost, I'm going to sound old, but it's just, I don't want to say a lost art. It's just not a thing that a lot of guys emphasize now in baseball because it's so hard to hit.
Yeah.
So you're just like, all right, I'm going to try and hit the ball to or over the fence and get extra bases, and that's how we'll manufacture runs. Jacob Wilson's up there like, nah, we're just going to shoot this one the other way. We're just going to, if he swings, he's putting the ball in play. It's such a refreshing thing. It's so jarring. Like, it's fun to watch. Not a lot of guys do that in the majors.
That's what I love, Kyle. It's the oppo stuff. It's he just has he has the ability to wait on every pitch because he's so aggressive, but he also just has such a great eye that, we've seen him go right down the right field line. We've seen him, just pick and choose his spots like nonstop. And it's because, again, he just has this knack for getting his bat to the ball. And, if you have that confidence in yourself, then it's okay to let a pitch, go an extra like point something of a second and then lace it to right field where everybody, like, it feels like most of the A's are just trying to, pull everything and try to hit everything over the fence.
Yeah. If it's in the zone, they're trying to hit they're trying to pull it over the fence. That's 100%. That's spot on. Jacob Wilson does a really nice job, though. 4 for 5 again last night. .357 he is batting this season. The best rookie in Major League Baseball. Or certainly one of them. I imagine his AL Rookie of the Year campaign will get chugging soon. We'll at least drive the train. We'll see if the A's are interested at all in helping us out there. But we'll drive that train. Shout out to Jacob Wilson. He'll join us tomorrow at 10:45. Real quick, Golden State at Minnesota tonight, game 2 of that series. No Steph Curry. He has been ruled out for game 2. They said he's going to be reevaluated in a week, which means the absolute earliest, if by some miracle his grade 1 hamstring strain heals in a week, he would be available for game 5. My better, I think a better hope would be game 6, and even that's probably super iffy.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
he's never had this injury before, so that was something Shams Charania reported yesterday, was they don't know exactly how it's going to heal because he's never dealt with this before. He was at shoot around today, which he wasn't doing anything. He was just rebounding, so it can't glean anything from that. Here's my question for you. I guess it's not really a question. If Golden State's going to win and figure this out, it's going to be on Steve Kerr. Like, can he continue just pushing the right buttons with a 12-man rotation? Like, that's what this entire series is going to come down to.
I get you. I mean, realistically, it might come down to just shooting by guys like Buddy Hield. You know, like you're going to have to get scoring somewhere. And the fact that they've been able to hold up so far in that series is crazy. Did not expect that. But like playing multiple games without Steph is just really, really difficult because you're going to be able to game plan now for Buddy Hield. And you couldn't really game plan before. And I know that sounds crazy that you would game plan for Buddy Hield.
But it's true.
But yeah, it's a lot easier to game plan when you pull out a guy who draws the attention of the entire team.
Right.
Which is why the Sacramento Kings struggled in the second half of the season when you no longer had De'Aaron Fox that the other team had to game plan like all the time for. Like, how do you cut off De'Aaron Fox when he starts getting to the basket? That's like, as soon as a team doesn't have to game plan for that, you just become more predictable and easy to defend. Yeah, no doubt. I have another thought on that game. We got to step aside, or Joe's going to jump through the window and murder me on camera. So we're going to step aside briefly. We'll continue talking about this Warriors Timberwolves matchup tonight, and then I want to go through a storyline for every team. What's the best story for the NBA champion this year? We'll talk about that next. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil's here. We're the Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Center. Let's I know we have some rules in the chat. Let's keep racism out of it as well, please. Wait, what?
I don't want to just.
Oh, okay.
The person should know who they are. It's okay.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Just a very obvious thing that everybody should know. Oh, hopefully soon. He's a tough guy to book, but we'll get him on. Dude, this is one of my favorite videos. He was the best guy around. What about the murder? What murder? It's the best. It's so funny. I don't know. I stopped keeping track of Jim Park closely a while ago.
I don't know who Jim Park is.
Charlie's got jokes today.
Oh.
Jim Park is a Warriors fan who, if given the chance, would put Steve Kerr on a one-way rocket to the sun. Just, it is unbelievable, dude. And he does like Twitter spaces after games and stuff. Like I said, I don't follow the guy super close, but This second round, would you trade Jaylen Brown for Jado? Another role player. Ooh, that's a good question for Jesse. I don't think I would do that because I'm not totally sure how good J-Dub is, and I know how good Jaylen Brown is. But I also know that they have like financial stuff they're going to run into, and they have a new owner. So I don't know. I think they could get. I think if Jaylen Brown was going to go on the open market, I think he could get more than this.
Yeah. I'm not sure OKC does that. I don't think that they would trade the good Jalen Williams.
We're coming back.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
James Ham's there. I'm Kyle Madsen. That's Joe Brazil. He's over behind the glass. There he is. Say hi, Joe. There he is. Shout out to Joe. Thanks, everybody listening on 1320 AM and 98.5 FM HD2. Everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch, hello. Hi. We appreciate all of you as well and everybody in the chatty house. Give us a thumbs up while you're there. Subscribe to the channel. Oh, that was cool.
Yep.
Oh, that was how do I do that?
You have to be cool like me.
I gotta get it. I give a thumbs up. What the heck? This is some. No. If you're listening on the podcast feed, the James Ham and Kyle Madsen Show, hello. We appreciate you. Hope the future's going well, and of course, everybody on the free Odyssey app. Search ESPN 1320, favorite our station. Well, download the free Odyssey app if you have not. That's just the thing you should have on your phone anyway. But favorite ESPN 1320. That way, when you open the app, we're right there, and you can listen live anywhere around the world. All right. I think tonight for Minnesota, and we can start with our NBA playoff storyline thing. We can start with them, but I think tonight feels existential. I've said that a lot these playoffs because it feels like the Grizzlies exit was existential. The Giannis exit is an existential thing for the Bucks. So I've said this a lot. But they came out flat in game one, played a team that didn't have Steph Curry for most of the game and still lost by 11 points. They scored 88 points. Chris Finch, their head coach, comes out in his press conference, is like, it starts with Ant. He's the leader of the team. He came out flat. Can't do that because guys are going to follow him. If they can't come out tonight, if the Minnesota Timberwolves can't come out in this game tonight in game 2 at home, down 1-0 against a Warriors team that doesn't have Steph Curry on it, if you cannot be fired up to play in this game and win this game by double digits, I think they're favored by 10.5 points. If you can't win this game going away, I think you have a huge problem in Minnesota that goes beyond just facing the Warriors in this series. Because now you're wondering if these are the right coaches or the right mix of people to accomplish the goals that they're wanting to accomplish.
I've got to be honest, like I haven't been sold on Minnesota at all, like over the last couple of years. And I know the ascension of Anthony Edwards, I mean, he's incredible to watch, but there's still something that you're left like wanting more almost all the time. There are times where he's just so good, but he also kind of just has a tendency to like hit the gas and let off. And, you know, I would even, you know, dare I say, put him in the category. Sometimes he's a better version, I think, but De'Aaron Fox, where you're always left going, you probably could have done that for more than just one quarter. You know?
Like you could have been 30% better tonight. It wasn't bad, but just could have been better.
Yeah, or even if it's 18% better, you could have been better. It's just you're always left with like this little bit of, hey man, do you understand how good you are? Do you understand like how you could take over a game and just be the most dominant force in the game and that no one could stop you? And I don't think he totally gets that, and he doesn't totally embrace that. I don't think there's a huge difference between the Timberwolves and the Warriors. I think it's a coin flip series, maybe a little bit towards Minnesota, but we're talking about a 6 and a 7, right? And I just don't think that they scare either one of them scare anybody. But when they play each other, you're just kind of like, okay, you're both at the same level. And I don't think that there's a game. I guess this is a point. I don't think that there's a moment where they can go out and crush a team like what we saw from OKC yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think Minnesota can beat the Warriors by 15, 20 points.
Sure.
But beating somebody by like 45 or 50, or 40.
I got it. I thought you were saying,
going, oh no. And just saying, hey, we're the best team. Like, I don't think that that's who they are. I don't think they've got that in them. And, again, there might be a lopsided score in one or two of these games here in the series, but they just kind of feel like they're the same level of team as the Warriors, but, as the Clippers, as, a lot of these teams.
They're definitely.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just think like there were so many teams in the West that were in the same category, whether you want to say the Lakers or the Clippers or Minnesota or, Memphis, or, they're just a bunch of teams that are all around the same exact level.
Yeah, I've been pretty in on the Timberwolves just because I've thought Julius Randle, the way he's played since he came back from injury, was just very different.
Yeah.
And he was much more impactful. But I think you're right. And maybe Golden State just doesn't have enough without Steph to win. It's relying a lot on guys like Quentin Post and Moses Moody and Brandon Podziemski, and they may just not have enough, and Minnesota might win this series in 5 games. But I think you're right in that it wouldn't shock me if Golden State gets a game and pushes it to 6, just on the strength of Minnesota face planting in a game where they just come out flat and the beat up Warriors go up 25-5 in the first quarter. Because for nothing other than Minnesota just going, meh.
Yeah.
Like, not tonight. That's a really good point. That was something I hadn't thought about. That wouldn't shock me at all if Golden State gets a game where Minnesota just kind of, meh, they're flat. Wouldn't shock me if it happened tonight.
I don't think the Warriors have the capability of just, beating them by 35 either.
No,
I don't.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
No.
Whether Steph's there or not, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the Warriors have that capability.
I think that's what any kind of consistent basis.
Yeah, that's what separates a team like OKC. Like, they are, I mean, like, realistically, they're a better team than Denver. That doesn't mean they're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean they're going to win the series because they're inexperienced and they're learning how to be better in a moment, better on a nightly basis, better in a 5, 6, 7 game series. That's not easy. You're learning on the fly.
That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil on the 1s and 2s. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. All right. I think every team has a fun storyline to win the championship this year. We can start with Minnesota since we're here. If the Minnesota Timberwolves win the title, I think you're looking at the full-blown the full-blown turn of Anthony Edwards turning into the face of the league or becoming the face of the league.
Okay.
That's the Minnesota storyline. I think. Like the Rudy Gobert thing, okay, cool. Rudy Gobert got a title and Julius Randle figuring it out in the playoffs. All right, that's cool. If the Timberwolves win the championship, it's about Ant. And I don't think there would be any question going into next year if we're talking, face of the NBA. I don't think there's any question if Minnesota goes and wins it this year.
I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, I think Minnesota, like, their only path forward is with Anthony Edwards becoming a superstar. Right now, like, people can say, oh, he's a superstar already. I disagree.
He has superstar qualities.
Yeah. He's a, all-star and all-NBA player, but whether he's a superstar, he hasn't reached that yet where you just count on him game in and game out. I mean, I think the most impressive thing about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was that stat that we had where he had scored 31 points exactly, like 42 times or something.
Ridiculous. The consistency was insane.
The consistency, but the consistency of greatness, not just the consistency. I mean, you can say, oh, he scored 20 every game this season. He's so consistent. Okay, he's consistently really good, But being consistent and being great while being consistent, that's a whole nother level, and that's what, like, to be honest, that's what Kobe Bryant was. We remember that stretch where Kobe went for over 30, like, I don't know how many games in a row it was, but it was ridiculous. And that's where Ant needs to get in order for that team to be a truly a title contender. Because right now they're not a title contender.
No, I agree. And let me, I need to make this really clear. Aldrin J in the chat said Wolves ain't winning a championship. F no. I get that. I don't think that they're winning a title either. But this is just kind of the storyline that you're pulling for, because what clicked this in my brain was Damian the other day talking about the Nuggets, and he said, "I'm rooting for Denver come hell or high water because I want Russell Westbrook to win a title. That's why I am rooting for Denver."
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, man, you could do this a little bit for every team. And to your point though, with Minnesota specifically and Ant being more consistent, I think your feeling and the people who feel the way you feel about Minnesota would be different if Ant was that player. If you knew on a nightly basis you were getting 30 plus from Anthony Edwards, I think we'd all feel very differently about the Timberwolves right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if he's scoring 30, then all you need is Gobert to score 12 to 15, and all you need is either Julius Randle or McDaniels to go for 20, and you're in it in any game.
Yep. The Oklahoma City Thunder, I think the storyline for them is just the culmination of the last couple of years. Best team all year wins the title. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the storyline. Yeah, it's like Shea becomes the guy. He becomes the face of the league quietly and just kind of steals the show. And it's like, no, it's not Ant-Man. It's not Scotty Barnes. It's not Luka. It's Shea.
Denver is playing Oklahoma City. The Timberwolves and OKC don't have enough storylines for me to be like, okay, that's the team I'm going to pull for.
Mm-hmm.
The Nuggets have Jokic and friends getting another one after Michael Malone got fired with 3 games left in the regular season. And you'd get Jokic going through SGA, who's going to win the MVP, and Jokic proving to everybody that he is very much still the best player in the sport.
Yeah.
And David Adelman getting a title.
Yeah, I mean, I think the David Adelman piece, that's the story. It's a David Adelman thing. It's like a guy thrown in to the fire with 3 games left in the season saying, all right, what do you got? And I thought game 1, he made some incredible adjustments. Game 2, again, part of that is just players playing poorly. Part of that is coaching. Part of it, there's a lot to it. So, yeah, I think Adelman is the story there.
I'm going to leave the Warriors out of it because I don't think anybody in this area is pulling for Steph Curry to get a 5th title. And if you are, salute. All right. I'm going to bring in a special guest for this next part.
What the hell do you guys want, bro? Like, seriously, what do you guys want? Like, what?
Never mind.
I'm upset. What do you want?
All right, we're good. Sorry. I should have talked to you before. That's on me. Jesse, top everybody.
I'm not happy. Like, I hate the Celtics. I'm pissed off. I have to come to work and talk about this today. Like, what?
The Celtics storyline is they would repeat as champs.
I guess. Dude, they got to go to Madison Square Garden on Saturday for Game 3. They might not even get out of this series.
Are you out? Like,
I'm not out, but I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, Celtics can come back, blah, blah, blah. Like they choked, and that's a symptom of something they were before they won the title last season. And they whooped everyone's ass all playoffs long last year. And I don't think like, oh, they're like crunch time, blah, blah, blah. But like, this is, I don't know. Like, this is like old Celtics right here.
I've never been able to understand the people because I follow some people online who are Celtics fans who are like, damn, it's still Celtics in 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, how are you there mentally right now?
I'm like talking I'm the closest I've gotten is just, hey, if they win Game 3, it's a brand new series. Yeah, dude, that's the best I can do right now. That's the best I can do.
I want you to know, as a person, very much like I couldn't care less what happens in the East.
Yeah.
As a person who I consider myself a neutral observer here, because I genuinely I don't have a real rooting interest on the East side of the bracket. I very much don't believe the series is over, and it wouldn't shock me at all. I'm trying to help you out.
No, I get
It
it.
wouldn't shock me at all if Boston just starts hitting threes and they win the next 4 or 4 of the next 5.
Like I said, there's not much to hold on to. They're like the best road team in the playoffs the last 4 seasons. They're like 22-9. So it's like maybe you can get another one, but the Knicks have stolen 2 games where they haven't even played their best basketball yet. And that concerns me the most.
Yeah.
I think what concerns me too, Jesse, is that you kind of felt like the Celtics never really put on the gas, like hit the gas all season long. And they just kind of coasted to where they got. And, it was really good. And we all you're like, oh, they'll turn it on. They'll turn it on. And then every once in a while when this happens, that team that does that, they lost the ability to find that other gear.
I think last month of the season, they're starting to play their best basketball. It seemed like, all right, now playoffs again, you're like, they were turning it up. Like, they were playing good ball. Like, defense was finally firing on all cylinders and stuff like that. It's just, they're just choking. That's literally what's happening right here. They're choking. They didn't score for what was it? 6 minutes of the fourth quarter?
7 minutes and 22 seconds.
The Knicks are playing defense and stuff like that, but like you're missing open threes. Tatum had one in the quarter where they
8 minutes and 22 seconds.
Yeah, 8 minutes, 22 seconds. Like Tatum had one in the corner, wide open, just missed. And at that point, it's like, all right, like we're in trouble.
Yeah, game 1 felt like
game 1 was whatever. I was like, fine.
Right. The Knicks punched back and we're ready for it. You go up 16 with 8:40 left yesterday. You have to know there's another punch coming.
Yep.
Man.
Well, the thing is, too, just get a couple buckets and you would have been fine.
That's it.
Just score a couple times.
There's so many guys who can put the ball in the hoop and just none of them put the ball in the hoop.
Knicks got 13 straight stops, I think.
God.
Yeah.
Jesse, I'm sorry.
No, it's great, bro. I'm glad I got to come on your guys' radio show and relive this. Now I get to do it in what? We got 24 minutes till D'Lo and KC.
It's fine. About 8 minutes till the handoff.
I think they're going to ask a lot of the same questions.
Huh?
Probably.
Yeah,
they're going to ask
Knicks
a lot of it.
Or Knicks supporter Kenny Caraway now.
That's a Knicks fan. Sorry.
Going to the other studio.
All right. Bye, Jesse. Jesse Toppy, everybody. He gets a...
I thought he was just coming in for the handoff.
No, that's not for another few minutes. I wanted to talk about the Celtics and their storyline of back-to-back champs, but I wanted to get Jesse's thoughts. I thought he was going to... I did not... He came in hot. He came in hotter than I was expecting.
Oh.
I just wasn't prepared.
That's funny.
Speaking of the Celtics, while we're here, we can talk about the Knicks. I think the Knicks have the best story, right?
I think so.
They haven't won a title since 1973, and they haven't been to the finals since 1999.
Yeah, that's a great...
Excuse me. If the Knicks won the championship, the parade would be across the United States. They would parade from Madison Square Garden to freaking Chase Center.
Just one big long parade.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, look, I think the Knicks have become, they're such a punchline because they're the big market team. They're the team that should have been able to land a LeBron James or should have been able to go out there and create a big three that wasn't like not to be rude, but like the our version of Big Three, like the generic version of Big Three, which they did in the 2000s.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a storied franchise, but like more storied for failure than anything else.
That's it. I've never understood the Knicks. They're a storied franchise who hasn't done anything. At least in my life.
In 52 years, they haven't won a title.
52 years.
That is insane.
The Mecca. I get it now.
The Mecca of mediocrity.
Nice, dude. Got him. Yeah,
there
I just
that got a giggle out of me. Good one.
Madison Square Garden over there. So no, man. It would be really, really cool if the Knicks won.
Yeah.
And finally became the team that everybody believes that they have been for 50 years, even though they've only been to the finals, I think, twice in that span. And they've not won. Real quick, just finishing this up. The Pacers winning out of nowhere would be really, really fun.
Oh,
just the Pacers with Tyrese Halliburton and a bunch of dudes and OG and not OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam and Andrew Nembhard and all those guys. That'd be a lot of fun. And then the Cavs having this massive turnaround behind Donovan Mitchell would be great.
I would love to see Tyrese Halliburton at the championship parade wearing a Mr. Overrated shirt.
That'd be great. That'd be really good. He needs to drop the overrate that line, though. He said that on Twitter after beating the Bucks with the layup. He tweeted overrate that, which is cool. But then after hitting the game winner in game 2 against the Cavs, he said it again in his presser. And it's like, all right, we got it.
He's
also,
bitter.
It was 14% of like 130 people said he was the most overrated player in the league.
That's funny.
So can we... Everyone's like, now he's underrated. I think he's pretty properly rated. Everybody thinks Tyrese Halliburton is pretty good.
Yep.
And making an ascension now. Anyways, we'll have the handoff coming up next. We'll either have Damian Barling or Knicks fan Kenny Caraway joining us in a moment here on ESPN 1320 in Sacramento Sports Center. Ooh, what insane movie is this? It's got Kyle Chandler. It's got the main character from Silicon Valley. There's another person I recognized in here. Oh, the Asian man from what's the Dream movie? The one about dreams. Inception.
Okay, I just now. I'm a little late to this conversation. Sorry.
Is that Chow Yun Fat?
Is that his name? I don't know his name.
I don't know.
Let's see. Who else do I recognize in this movie?
Ramsey, you can't just throw it. Pittsburgh Pirates fired Derek Shelton this morning. First of all, no one outside of you knows who Derek Shelton is. I mean, yes, they fired their manager this morning, but come on now. That's not real baseball news.
His name is Ken Watanabe. I actually knew that. I just couldn't think of his name. Is this Pacific Rim? Is that who I think? No way. Is that Anthony Ramos? What movie? What is this collection of people in this movie? What? It's not Manchester by the Sea. That's 100% not what it is. It's not Zero Dark 30 or Argo. Seen both of those. Oh, I think it's The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Kyron said it's Godzilla.
Oh, is it Godzilla?
Now he's yelling at you, Godzilla.
Oh, I'm not in the street. Dog, relax. This doesn't make the chat show up more.
Whoa. No all caps in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Godzilla. Thank you, Kyron. This is an incredible cast, and I can't wait to watch this movie. Godzilla 2014? No, is it?
Oh, he was in Tokyo Vice. Tokyo Vice is awesome.
Never heard of it.
It's a television
We're so
series.
locked into this Godzilla movie. Oh, no, this is Godzilla King of the Monsters, I think. Yeah. No, he definitely doesn't. He already did. He doesn't want to talk anymore. Okay, here we go. All right. We got it. 2019 Godzilla. Millie Bobby Brown is in this, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Thomas Middleditch, that's his name. O'Shea Jackson? It is Anthony Ramos. Anthony Ramos, of course, is the original John Lawrence in the cast of Hamilton. He's also the Lady Gaga's friend in Star is Born. Huh?
$15 seconds.
Godzilla 2019 per Kyron. Yeah, he also plays Phillip. Yeah.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
Hey, hit me up, New In family. Hit me up on Instagram or something, and we'll do something for sure.
Oh,
salute. Kenny Caraway's here. Is your microphone on? Your microphone on.
It's time now for the handoff. Taking the handoff from James and Kyle today, here's KC, Kenny Caraway.
Are you going to have Damian play Light the Beam for your Knicks?
No, we're not going to do that.
Day?
Well, we're not going to do that, like I said. And I've continued to say I'm a Knicks supporter. There is a difference between a Kings fan and a Knicks supporter. I am a Knicks supporter.
I see you came in rocking Kings gear top to bottom today. I know that was intentional.
I mean, look, man, people get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. This Kings for life out here. This Kings for life. If it's Kings Knicks, there is no doubt about it. It's Kings all day. All right. So I want people to understand that. But hey, those are like my cousins. The Knicks are like my cousins. They're my cousins. You know what I'm saying?
So wait, I got a big question for you here. Are you an A's fan?
I'm an A's supporter.
So you're an athletic supporter.
Yes. Now, if they become the Sacramento Athletics,
would you drop your Giants fandom?
I'm just saying.
You can't do that. You can't.
I'm too old at this point.
Yeah.
It's like I always reference back. Spike Lee from Brooklyn is a Knicks fan, and when the Nets moved to Brooklyn, he was like, "Oh, I got love for him. Like I got love for him. This is my hometown. We got a team." They talk about there. I'm 6 blocks away, 144th Street. That's where I was raised, right here. Now they got the Barclays, all that other stuff. But he said, "Look, I'm Knicks. I've been in this too long. I'm Knicks." You know what I mean? And that's how I'd be with the A's. I got love for the A's. I would definitely root for them. Depending on, I've seen 3 Giants championships. So if the A's and the Giants played in the World Series, with the A's being the Sacramento A's, I'd probably go for the A's to win. I want to see my city win. I've seen 3 championships. I've seen 3 parades with the Giants. It's okay.
Then I feel like that's the definition of you would be an A's fan then.
If
you're rooting for them to win the championship over another team, that's your favorite team.
I wouldn't say my favorite team. It's circumstantial. It's circumstantial. So I'll put it to you like this. If the Raiders moved to Sacramento and they played the Niners in the Super Bowl, right? It's been too long. I need Niners to get a championship. I'm sorry, Sacramento. It's been too long. I need the Niners to get a championship here. I need number 6.
You say this.
So that would be that.
Here's the thing. You say this right up until, let's say the Niners win 3 of the next 5.
Oh, see, well, now it's changed.
Okay. Raiders move to Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
This is just such a silly hypothetical, but we're going to play it out.
Well, it almost happened.
Raiders move to Sacramento. Raiders-Niners Super Bowl. The amount of trash Raider fans would talk to you in the lead up to it, you would want them to lose so bad.
Yes.
You would not root for the Raiders.
Yes, but once again, it's circumstantial.
Sure.
We up to 8 now. We up to 8. Well, you said we didn't win 3 of the last 5. We up to 8. We got the most all time in the history of the NFL. Sure, it's okay. I want to see my city have a parade. It's all good. It's all good. Now, like I said, if we hadn't won any up to that point, I'm sorry, Sacramento. You're going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait. I need the Niners to get this one right here. But that's what it said. Goes back to Giants A's. Giants A's playing the World Series. Look, man. Hey, come on, man. I got 3 more than I ever thought I'd see. So hey, let my boys get a parade, man.
My favorite part about discussions like this is there's no right or wrong way to be a fan. Like people feel really strongly in their beliefs. It's like there's no laws. You do whatever you want.
A lot of that will be, except for the Kings. The Kings are the only steadfast one. But I would go for the Kings over anybody in life.
Yeah, no, of course.
A lot of Niners, Raiders, Giants. It'd probably be when I get in the moment. I'll depend on how I feel. Like when I get in the moment,
when you see it,
I can't imagine saying I want the Giants to lose. I can't imagine that. Maybe I just wouldn't watch the World Series.
What I'm really, really hoping
Giants A's in the World Series, you can't watch it. It's just
this
too much.
all happens.
I didn't see what happened.
I am really pulling for the A's to stay in Sacramento long term, so I can make a T-shirt that for Kenny that says, "I'm a Sac athletic supporter." I'm
gonna get a split hat.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm just leaving it. Sac athletic supporter.
Because that's what it's called, the thing that you wear when you play sports.
Yes.
That you put the cup in. It's called an athletic supporter.
Well, that's a good knowledge. It's good knowledge. Cup check. Oh, around the dugout, cup check. Grab your cup on.
Oh no.
What do you want to talk about today?
I mean,
I don't. So we have. So the Knicks beat the Celtics again, but I imagine you guys are going to do a bunch of that with Jesse on your show.
Yeah.
You have the Thunder with the in case you forgot game. It feels like the Thunder did the thing last night where they're just going to win the next 4.
Yeah, the Thunder behaved as if we choked away game 1. The Nuggets have no business being in a series with us. And now we're going to beat the brakes off of them. I was really impressed by the Nuggets winning game 1. I didn't believe they had a shot against OKC going into the series. And even after they won game 1, I still think OKC, you know, before we saw what we saw yesterday, I was like, they're still going to win the series. But I was impressed. I had to tip my hat. I've been pretty dismissive of Denver all season long as a championship contender. And that was a championship performance in game 1. So I tipped my hat to them.
Yeah.
But the Thunder said, that's cute. Like, You know what was so bad? You know how bad that game was?
How bad?
I was watching the game at my mom's house. I was doing some running around, Reese had some doctor's appointments or whatever. So I was kind of in and out of the Knicks game. And I saw, like, on TV, I got to my mom's house for the last 2.5 minutes and saw the last 2.5 minutes. Like, oh man, this is great. Everything's good. This is awesome. Then the next game comes on. And with about 3 minutes left in the first quarter, I said, hey, Mom, you want to turn on the fourth quarter of the next game? This one's over. It's like a 25-point game. Well, I don't need to listen. Before I go home, let's watch the fourth quarter of the Knicks Celtics game.
Smart.
Because this one's done.
Yeah.
And then I get home and do all this other stuff. And I had to give Ryan a bath. Game's still going on. I checked the score. It's 141-90. I said, all right, I made the right decision.
My buddy, shout out to my buddy Sean. He listener of the program, lives out in Virginia.
Okay.
So the later starts out here, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock start is 9, 10 p.m. for him.
Yeah.
And he's been going to bed and missing all these awesome games.
Oh, man.
So he last night hits a group chat and he's like, not tonight, guys. I'm staying up. I'm locked in Knicks, Celtics, and then I'm locked in Denver, Oklahoma City. Let's go. Like halfway through the second quarter, it's like, I got some good news for you, brother. You can head to bed.
Go on to sleep, big dog. This one is over. Put the babies to bed.
It was definitely one of those early blowouts, because there's times, we know it here in Sacramento, we know it watching the Warriors, they'll be up 20, but it's like, they're up 20, but it's really more like 8.
Yeah.
That game was so one-sided early on. You're like, oh, this is super done. There's no
real easy.
Yeah.
Real easy. Good stuff, though.
Does Minnesota cover the 10.5 tonight?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit up here and say they do what the Thunder did, but I think they handle business convincingly, cover the 10.
Yeah.
17-point win.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Do you have any belief? Either one. Well, I asked James yesterday, but I'll ask you, do you have any belief the Warriors can win this series without Steph?
Not. It was at 0 until James and I were talking today, and James made the point that you just said you don't think Minnesota's going to do what Oklahoma City did, and James kind of made the point like they're not capable of doing that. And he was saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, James, but you were saying that you don't really buy into the Timberwolves because like they don't seem to buy into themselves really.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Timberwolves, but until Anthony Edwards decides to like ascend and become, a like playoff superstar, even like look at what Donovan Mitchell's done. Like, he's been incredible. Even though they've lost, he's been incredible. Ant hasn't had that signature, like, at least right now, he's not doing it. And I just don't think that they have the ability to go throttle the Warriors by 40.
Then they have 43 against the Lakers in game 4.
Yeah, no, and he'll do that from time to time. But the like coming out flat in that game, and not when Steph goes out going, "Hey, it's blood in the water, let's go."
Mhm.
Like they just kind of. So the thing that I think gives Golden State any kind of hope is A, Steve Kerr's an awesome coach, but B, that happening enough times that Steph comes back into the series and is able to play maybe game 6 and 7. Where
and 3, Shavano, Rainier, healed.
That's it.
They're about to lock him up.
That's about. It's going to be so bad.
Pod's going to have to do something, Moody or something, because they about to lock Shavano up.
But that's kind of the hope is, hey, maybe they'll just trick off a couple of games by just not really showing up. And Jimmy Butler has a huge game, or Pods has a huge game, but I don't.
That's tough. That's tough.
I think it's a 5 or 6 game series. I just don't. Man. What are you gonna do? You know, when you're centering your team around a 37-year-old guard.
Never had this type of injury before.
I know, weird.
That sucks.
Yeah. Anyways, what do you guys got coming up on D-Lo and Casey?
Go New York, go New York, go!
The non-Knicks fan, Kenny Caraway, everybody. For Joe Brazil and James Ham, I'm Kyle Madsen. We're the Insiders, brought to you by Jiffy Lube. We're back with you tomorrow on this very radio station. It's ESPN 1320 at 10 a.m. Till then, drink water, be nice people. See you!